my like nipples in another tub of like salt water, just crying. Don't want to cry too loud because I don't want to wake this baby. And like
Yes.
thinking, this what my life is. Like, is this how can I go from such a high of my Tony Robbins life to this? And I just
Right.
really struggled with that. And I think I always had my dad in the back of my mind, and I thought, I have this human now that I have to take care of and I'm responsible for, and I want to live out a version of myself that I can be proud of, not one that's constantly in fear, thinking I need to be a certain way or do things a certain way, but something that I could be
Mm.
proud of that frees up my daughter to then also feel like she could be the fullest expression of herself.
Ho, ho, ho!
Hey, Santa, before you get too carried away, we need to talk.
Yeah, because while you're up there with the cookies, moms are the ones making sure the magic actually happens.
And let's be honest, who does all the work and who gets all the credit?
This year, it's time for a little more for mom. We're hosting the More for Mom Summit, a free online event designed to help you ditch the stress and keep the joy of the season.
Think of it as your 4-day reset. Practical tools, heart-centered support, and a community of moms who get it.
Grab your free ticket at moreformomsummit.com because this year, mom gets to enjoy the magic too.
Ho, ho, ho. This episode is brought to you by the More for Mom Summit. You can get your free ticket at www.moreformomsummit.com. We'll see you there. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are joined by Jane Sohn, an energetics and somatic coach who helps high-achieving, soul-led women, love, P.S., regulate their nervous system and align with their higher purpose. Jane's story is such a beautiful fit for the More for Mom Summit coming November 12th through 14th, which is a free online event designed to help moms fill their own cup before the holiday rush begins. In her upcoming summit talk, Soul-Filled Motherhood, Jane explores how motherhood calls us back home to ourselves, helping us meet the deepest parts of who we are so we can lead and mother from wholeness, not depletion. Today, we're going to get to know the woman behind the message and what inspired her journey. So welcome, Jane.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're thrilled to have you. Okay, so let's dive in. I'm going to ask you questions. I'm a chatty Cathy, so if things come up in conversation, who
Yeah,
knows?
perfect.
And if you have anything else to add, just lean in. Okay, so can you take us back to what your life looked like before you started this journey?
My goodness, I feel like she's such a faint memory now, but back
Mm,
before I even knew I was pregnant, it was probably around the pandemic times, and I was just so on fire for everything. I was
mm,
part of the Tony Robbins world. I was working in corporate at Google at the time, and I had just started my business because I was surrounded by entrepreneurs with the Tony Robbins stuff.
mm,
And I was so
mm,
excited to get my business going. I had this mission to help 1 million women, just really transform their lives because especially during the pandemic, I just saw how much women in general were really struggling in that environment. And here I
mm.
am just, in my own little sphere saying like, no, like it could be so much better. There's so much we can do. This is all pre-motherhood, by the way. And like everything's fantastic. So that was kind of this high that I was riding like right before I even found out I was pregnant.
Mm. That resonates so much with me because I work with Stu McLaren, who has worked also with
Mhm.
Tony Robbins,
Yeah.
and same girl, same, like that kind of, oh, let's take over the world energy, and then the baby comes and you want to keep taking over the world, but it's like you got to do it like during naps. And anywho, okay,
Yeah.
what are some of the challenges or struggles that you have faced or have that you faced at the time?
Man. So back then, the reason why I ended up in this whole personal development world in the first place was that my dad passed away rather suddenly in 2018.
Mm,
And my dad spent his whole life working. He was a nuclear engineer And his whole idea was, I'm going to work and then I'm saving up for my pension and then I'm going to enjoy it. And he had
Mm,
just retired maybe a couple years earlier. My dad had a stroke. So my dad had a stroke like Tuesday. My mom had retired from her job like the Friday before, and they were set to
mm,
start traveling the world together. And so when my dad passed so suddenly, it kind of really brought to light like, what was my dad living for? He spent so much of his time saving up for a pension that he never really got to use. So what does that mean
mm.
for me in my life and what I want to do? Really honing in on what does my life look like and what kind of change do I want to create? Because at that point, I was working a corporate job. I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do, being really successful in terms of success people think of, right? And
Mm,
then feeling just completely out of body, not really in alignment with who I am and who I wanted to be. And so
mm.
that led me towards the personal development space and just really thinking I need to change. I don't know what direction to go in. I don't even know what purpose looks like for me, but I'm just going to go in any direction I find and just chase after what lights me up.
I think that's so brilliant. And I have to say, we have lived so many similar things. I won't go on about myself, but it's none of my business. But I think that your dad would be super proud of you.
Yeah, I like to think so too.
I think so.
Thank you.
Okay. Um, you're welcome. What made you decide to start making changes?
So, I mean, so many of my friends planned their pregnancy. I did not. Me
Mm,
and my partner were talking about getting married, like we were in that stage. Um,
mm,
I was gung ho starting my business. I never really even thought of being the type of woman who got pregnant. I always thought if I want a child later on down the line, I could just adopt. That's kind of, I did so much work around
yeah.
like homeless children, in the earlier part of my
Mm,
life that I thought adoption's a great option and that's totally fine with me. And I would love to provide a home for kids who don't have that.
mhm,
So when I got pregnant, I was finishing up my year in the Tony Robbins world because you kind of pay for a year in this container. And I was like
mm,
literally in the Bahamas and I was like, I feel so bloated. I don't know what my problem is. Thinking I'm just gonna do another year of this Tony Robbins stuff, right? I get home,
yeah.
find out I'm pregnant. I go, great. I don't know. My partner's like ecstatic, just like riding cloud nine. And I'm sitting there, all of my fears start rushing in. I grew up in a very like Korean American household and also very Christian
Mm,
household. So having a child out of wedlock is really frowned upon. So all of that came rushing in. How do I even tackle that? And it
mm,
just like freaked me out, I think, in a lot of ways. So feeling into that at the same time as I'm pregnant, unpacking it. My partner at the time was a firefighter. And so after I had my daughter, I distinctly remember he was like out. Sometimes he'll be gone for days, sometimes he'll be gone for weeks. And he was out. I was alone with the baby. I just got her down. I'm like doing a bath in the tub with my like nipples in another tub of like salt water, just crying. Don't want to cry too loud because I don't want to wake this baby. And like
yes.
thinking, this is what my life is. Like, how can I go from such a high of my Tony Robbins life to this? And I just
Right.
really struggled with that. And I think I always had my dad in the back of my mind, and I thought, I have this human now that I have to take care of and I'm responsible for. And I want to live out a version of myself that I can be proud of, not one that's constantly in fear, thinking I need to be a certain way or do things a certain way, but something that I could be
Mm.
proud of that frees up my daughter to then also feel like she could be the fullest expression of herself.
Today's word of the day is truth.
Exactly. That's so powerful. The Kara and I, like our whole mission, I don't know how we got to just be best friends, but like our whole mission that we started with your Mom Enough and the More for Mom Summit was around this concept that like your children do not grow up to take care of themselves the way you take care of them. they will
Mhm.
grow up to take care of themselves the way they witness you take care of yourself,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know? And
Mhm.
like such a gift to recognize like, okay, I have this human and I want her, it's a little girl, yeah?
Yeah. Mhm.
You have a daughter? Yeah.
I
I
have a
want
daughter, yeah.
her to be brave enough to like do the things that she wants to do. And so I have to do that too. Like I just think that's
Exactly,
so
yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was gonna ask you if there was a turning point moment, but I feel like crying in the tub, sits bath, and that whole
Yeah, like,
scene feels
y
turning point to me.
that was a huge turning point for sure. I feel like mine I like it's like the wheels started turning maybe a little bit before then. So I remember
Mm.
distinctly, I was 5 months pregnant. I was at the hospital, and I don't know what happened, but, like, I fainted, and so I was like,
Mm.
"Okay, I'm a little off today. I'm just gonna, like, take a break from work." That day, I think I was at the mall. At the mall, my brother calls me and he goes, "Hey, just so you know," God, I'm gonna cry just from that moment, but, like, "Your mom has stage 4 ovarian cancer," and, at the time, she
Ugh,
was in Korea because no one in the US would diagnose her, so she flew to Korea to get
ugh,
diagnosed, and in the middle of that, my mom didn't want us to know, so we actually had to find out from her friend, who she had to call in Korea to help her, and it just became this big, ugh, like, okay, I just fainted at the hospital. I'm like concerned about my pregnancy, feeling the weight of my mom. I
this is
stayed up at night because
yeah.
just was figuring out how I can help my mom. And then it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I heard my dog, who I had my dog for like 10 years. I heard him just kind of walking around, which was weird in the middle of the night. And it sounded like he was
Mm.
stumbling. So I go downstairs and he's like cold. He's still alive, but he's just cold. So I'm like rushing to the ER, can't even think straight, only to find out like he also has cancer. So it's like a snowball moment for me of like, what am I doing with my life? Right? Like it's so fragile in so
Yeah.
many ways. Like, what the heck am I doing? And that kind of
Yeah.
catapulted me to this feeling of like when I actually did go back to work and I'm taking care of my mom and I'm taking care of my dog, really saying to myself, I don't like anything that I do in a 24-hour period. Like none of it brings me joy.
Mm.
And I don't like
Mm.
being in this narrative of being a working mom. Like I don't want to sit here and complain with other women who are going through the same thing. I would rather we all choose to rise up and do something else that lights us up beyond this than just submit to this and say this is
Yes.
just going to be our life.
100%. Uh, do you ever like this question is not on the list,
Mhm.
but do you ever meet people, doesn't have to be moms specifically, that have not had this kind of like crescendo of life-changing events and they're just out living in their life and think, man, like you like I feel grateful for the challenges I've encountered because it's
Yeah.
given me the ability to be grateful for my life. But at the same time, like you don't know how good it is when everything is just fine, you know?
No, I mean,
Just
you know what's so fun? I feel like I kind of was thrown into the thick of it early on because, I mean, I could
mm,
that's like a whole other thing I could go into, right? But from like such an early age, I feel like struggle was such a big part of what like my life experience was that now, I mean, I'm
mm,
40 now. So when I see other women who kind of look like they have it all together, my take is always, ugh, like, I'm so grateful for what I've been through because my perspective is so much wider than, like, theirs, and not to compare or judge, right? Because everyone's
yes.
going through their own
Yeah.
challenges in their own way, but, like, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way because I wouldn't have ended up here. Like, I think I would hate to be
Yeah.
doing something that isn't in alignment with myself, but not fully understanding why, just going along with it. I think
And
that.
like not yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting, but
Oh,
not
go for it.
understanding like I don't know, the depth of like uh, I don't know, I'm speechless. Like the depth of importance in like things that you take for granted sometimes, time with your kids, like just doing stuff that's joyful to you versus like spending hours and hours plugging away at something that makes you look good to the rest of the world, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in so many of these random conversations where I have to really almost pat myself on the back for how I view the world now, and I know it would not
Mm,
have been without all that struggle because, like,
shit. Yeah.
I mean, I literally this woman at the gym the other day came up to me, and we were just chatting about being mothers and bonding that way, and she looks at me 'cause her daughter's also 2, and she goes, "Oh, how are you dealing with the terrible twos?" And my immediate reaction was like, "What do you mean terrible twos? Like, I love my daughter at this age. I don't understand what you mean by terrible twos." And so she's breaking
Yeah.
it down for me, and I'm just listening to her, trying to understand her perspective, and also just saying like, "Wow, Jane, like, we did some work." Like, if I had my daughter 10 years
Yes.
ago, yeah, we would be down the rabbit hole of terrible twos. But right now, like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not there.
Yeah. Same thing. I had my little girl at 42. I'm 43 now. She just has turned 1. And I feel like I wouldn't have had the same patience. I wouldn't have like understood how fleeting the moments are and when things are like kind of going, not as planned, how that's kind of magic too. Like I would have missed all of it, you
Yeah,
know. So
absolutely.
amazing. Uh, Okay. For a mom listening who feels overwhelmed, what's one small step she can take this week to move towards the life that she wants? That's a
I'm
big
gonna start
question.
in a place that probably sounds more controversial, but I think
Love.
overwhelm is a
Go.
choice. And
Mm,
I'm saying that from a place of being in overwhelm for so long. And I really, especially like the minute you hit momhood, before you become a mom, I feel like you can kind of tuck those little parts of you away somewhere and just never have your triggers hit in the way that they're hit once you become a mom. And once that
mm,
hit, I had to face my overwhelm because I started to realize that I was using it to become a martyr, like in my family, with my friends, in a way to like justify my behavior. And so once I
mm,
realized that I was using it in that way, I didn't want it to have that kind of power over me anymore. Like, I had to
mm,
realize that I have a choice in how I show up and how I wanna act, and the only reason I was feeling the overwhelm was because the other side of it was I was afraid to ask for help. I thought I had to
mm.
do it all
Yeah.
myself, right? And, like, how many
Yeah.
times do you go through life thinking, "I have to do it," or "It's easier if I do it," or, like, "No one else will take this over for me," when that's not the truth of everything. Because people always wanna help other people, right? Like, moms above
Yeah.
anyone
Yeah.
understand what it's like and how hard it is, and so when you see a new mom, you wanna help her, right? You wanna be able to guide her or give her whatever she needs or what she doesn't even think that she needs quite yet. And so for
Yeah.
me, like,
100%.
when I think of a mom who's, like, in overwhelm, I would almost wanna dig deeper, like, what is beneath that overwhelm that is carrying you that feels like it has to be hard, and then start there,
Mm,
because the more we start to realize that we are making choices about how we feel in every single moment, the more we have power to change it, and until we take that power back, we are just victims to our surroundings and our environment.
100%. So, would you say if a mom wants to change that or start to change that, what's a good question she could maybe ask herself?
Yeah.
I feel like you said it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, one side is like what is overwhelm doing for me? And then the other side is like, what brings me joy? Because
Mm,
the overwhelm is not allowing yourself to do the thing that brings you joy and not
mm,
prioritizing that.
hun
So, can I start to
100%.
shift it so I bring more joy and gratitude and the things that I do want into my life so that I free up the space to let go of the things I don't?
Love. Okay. Um, what advice would you give to a mom who feels stuck? I feel like it's the same question. Do we feel like it's a
Similar. So, I would say, and
Yeah.
this is like how I would get through to someone because when you're in the thick of it, you have tunnel vision, you can't see. Like, don't tell me it's my choice at all.
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is your body telling you? Right? Like, how often do you just
Mm,
feel within your body and feel whole and feel like you have energy and capacity? Because
mm,
if we our body's always talking to us and it's always telling us, it has so much wisdom. But we'll notice when we're in any type of survival emotion, we are outside of ourselves. We are out here fixing, we
mm,
are out here doing, we are not paying attention to how we're internally. So if we bring that back, what we start to realize is that if we do feel overwhelmed, if you do feel stuck, meet it with presence, right? Like,
mm,
if you can figure out how to meet that part of you with presence, it'll move. The energy will move. The stuckness is really like, if you think of it on a visceral level of what it is in the body, it is your muscles tightening. It is feeling like you can't breathe. It is,
mm,
feeling like your heart is in your throat, right? That is like physical stuckness and also emotional
mm,
stuckness. So, what would get the energy moving? Do I need to go for a walk? Like, do I need to just take some deep breaths? Do I need to have a conversation
mm,
with someone to get it flowing that way, right? Like, if you think of your body as the tool, then it's always telling you
mm.
what it needs. So give it what it needs. And from that place, you start to open up, feeling unstuck. And then you can move into whatever purpose or mission you feel like is driving you.
Love. I have to say, like, as I've done my own work, I'm very in my mind, very, very in my mind. And it blew my mind to know that feelings like are actually also physically happening in your body. And of course, I experienced them, but I never connected the concept like, oh, this feeling is in my body.
We don't even
Sadness is
like,
here in my body.
I mean, we've disconnected ourselves in so many ways from that type of
Yeah.
conversation, right? It's like, oh, I'm like hurting in my shoulder. Let me go to the doctor versus like, I'm
Yeah.
hurting in my shoulder. Let
Why?
me sit with it and see if it's just an emotion that's like kind of bugging me right now.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Okay, well, let's wrap it up. If moms walk away remembering just one thing from our conversation today or your story, what do you hope that it is?
I hope that it's
I think we,
you have more power than you've ever thought possible in your life.
mm,
I think, well, oh gosh, even once I sat with the fact that we are all limitless beings, it really just let everything else go, right? Like
mm,
the fact that I can't get my daughter in the car on time is like minuscule in compared to the limitlessness of me. And so
mm,
the more I can bask in that, like, oof, the more goodness you can get. And so
yeah,
it's just this like reconnection to yourself as a mom, as a mother, as a woman, as a daughter, as a child. Can we reconnect all those parts back together so that we can integrate them and show up more fully in our own authenticity? Like, that is all possible.
mm,
And I really hope like whoever's listening understands you can literally be, do, have anything that you want in this life, the more that we
mm.
tune in to that abundance, to that authenticity, to that magnetism that's already there.
Amazing. Love. Okay. And finally, where can moms connect with you, find out more about you, and learn about what you do?
Yeah, I am mostly probably on TikTok. It's at Jane, Jane dot Sohn, Sohn. Then next, I'm probably on Instagram with that same name, or you can find me if you want to do some breath work with me. We have Breathwork Break, the podcast. Literally just breath
Love.
work anytime you need a moment for yourself. Yeah.
So brilliant. I think that, like, anyways, I won't fangirl you, but so brilliant. Okay. All right, everyone. Jane, thank you so much for sharing your light and your story with us today. If you love this conversation, you won't want to miss Jane's full session inside the More for Mom Summit. I'm really looking forward to it. The summit is happening November 12th through 14th, and it's completely free and happening online. So Jane's presentation, Soul Filled Motherhood, goes even deeper into how we can reconnect with ourselves, regulate our nervous system, and parent from a grounded, heart-centered place. So make sure you've signed up for the summit and bring a notebook because her session is going to be pure magic. All you need to do is go to moreformomsummit.com and get your free ticket now. And Jane, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. I'm really excited to chat with you and to, have this opportunity to exchange with you. I think it's really incredible what you're building. I'm just, excited to
Yeah,
have you.
thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Thanks. Bye, guys.
The holiday's magical. The food, the friends,
Yeah, hey Dave, before you start selling us on the joy of the season, me and the moms, we're taking a break.
Because let's be honest, if you're dreading instead of dreaming about the holidays, you're not alone.
And this year, it's time to do something more for mom before things get into the full swing.
The More for Mom Summit is your reset to swap stress for sanity and pressure for peace.
Join us free at moreformomsummit.com and make this a season you actually enjoy.